This is a summary of the myth of Demeter and Persephone by Charlene Spretnak. As presented in Part 1, Our Heritage is Our Power, of the book Weaving the Visions New Patterns in Feminist Spirituality, co edited by Judith Plaskow and Carol P. Christ. Before I start, I want to incorporate this stone from the Temple of Demeter in Sicily, as well as this bronze of Isis and Osiris that I brought back from Egypt, both of them on my travels, just to ground us in a little bit. I am Lucia Pavone, a second year student in the Women, Gender, Spirituality, and Social Justice Master's Program. And this presentation is part of the Sacred Lineages course at the California Institute of Integral Studies, instructed by Dr. Annette Williams. I'm a first generation Sicilian American, queer woman. Demeter and Persephone, or Demetra and Core, are, of what we call them in Sicily, are an integral part of my lineage. This presentation will offer a brief introduction to the author. It'll look at who is Demeter, offer an overview of the famed rape of Persephone. It outlines the author's version of the Demeter and Persephone myth. And finally, I will offer my own personal reflection. So, starting us off, Charlene Spretnak is the author of 9 books, including books on feminism, spirituality, green politics, religion, and also she is a professor emerita in philosophy and religion. In the first part of this chapter, the author states that Demeter is known as the grain mother and mother of Persephone, known also as Kore, the grain maiden. Here, Spretnak shares about ancient fertility rituals performed in the autumn on the island of Crete, called the Thesmophoria. So these rites were for women and only for women, and later became part of the Eleusinian mysteries. So, as Spretnak points out, Greeks often conceived of their goddesses in the maiden and mature form simultaneously. So the author shares the origins of the famed rape of Persephone, made famous by the Homeric hymn to Demeter. So here, Persephone is carried off into the underworld by Hades and forced to become the bride, his bride, and the queen of the underworld. So she writes that there is no mention of rape in earlier versions of this myth, though, and that the author provides an archaeological evidence of a transfer of culture from Egypt to Greece, noting that the Egyptian Isis was also queen of the underworld. The author then shows a correlation, noting that Demeter had power over the underworld as it was close to Gaia, the earth, where wheat was grown. So, as stated previously, the Greeks considered the maiden and mother archetypes of a goddess as one and the same. So, Kore, later called Persephone, becomes the queen of the underworld. She's also the daughter of Demeter, who also has dominion over the underworld. All right, prefacing the author's version of the story, she notes that rape was added to the myth after societal shift from a matrifocal or goddess culture to a patriarchal one. I believe that the author seeks to really reclaim the original myth of the one that like predates Christianity and elevates the divine feminine. So themes present in this version are that Persephone freely went to the underworld to help the dead cross over, relationship between mother and daughter. Persephone anoints the dead with pomegranate seed juice, symbolically of blood, perhaps. And Persephone returns in the spring and into the white crocus flowers, and these represent purity, innocence, and truth. So there's not enough time in this short presentation for an elaborate reflection, but I did have these questions. Could Persephone going to the underworld be a spiritual rite of passage? And was this myth conceived through psychedelic experience? There's a lot of evidence for entheogenic use in the Eleusinian mysteries. And was this myth related to blood rites of a maiden's first moon? So pomegranate seeds support menstrual health and often represent the womb. And could Persephone's descent into descent into the underworld with Hades have been actually a sacred sexual rite of passage. So, in this final personal reflection, I show images of artifacts from the actual Temple of Demeter in Sicily. My trip to the Temple of Demeter this summer, this is actually where the temple was. I'm standing in one of the structures. The Musoni Festival, which is a pre-Christian rite of passage festival in honor of Demetra or Demeter and Persephone, and then grains at the actual Temple of Demeter in Sicily and Enna. So thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this reflection on this chapter, and I appreciate this beautiful honoring. Thank you.